Hello everyone, my name is Clantis and welcome to the clan. So without further ado, let's get into this video. But before we get into the video, please do me a favor by smashing that like button. Guys, I appreciate you guys so much for always responding to this call because we're starting to grow once again. Yes, it's a bit slow, but we are growing. Trust me, I can see from the background that we have moved. The needle is moving. So continue smashing the like button and also stop just watching. Subscribe as well. I've got two disclaimers that I want to make real quick. Number one, I am busy with stuff that is happening at home. If you are hearing noise outside, just know that there are a group of men that are busy putting up a tent. And secondly, you may see me look at somebody now and again trying to, I don't know, whatever question they might be asking me because it's a buzz around here. Thirdly, I may sound a little bit shy today because I am being watched by too many eyes while I am doing this. Guys, we have something at home. I'm not going to talk about it just yet, but I'll tell you when I am ready. These videos, they kind of keep me busy and also distracted. However, though, my last disclaimer, I know I said two, it's actually four. My last disclaimer, I'm going to be reading from my script rather than me just talking like I always do, looking at the camera because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done right now. Let me show you what time it is. I am so sorry to waste your time, guys. You see, I don't know if you can be able to see. It is 9:05 p.m. I don't know if you can see. It is 9:05 p.m. and I'm doing this video right now. I had a long drive from Johannesburg to Durban, so I'm in a different setting, as well as if you hear the echo, I apologize. So basically, this is what I was hearing while we were driving down to Durban during the Senzo Mewa murder trial, and I was listening to it through the radio. So this is what I say. Again, I apologize for doing this to y'all. I'm not sure whether to laugh or cry because what I heard while I was following today's proceedings in the Senzo Mewa murder trial on the radio to Durban left me shaking my head and like, nah, this cannot be true. Now, I want to avoid what happened in the beginning of the case in the morning because, come on, we already knew that one way or the other, Baloy was going to try to pull a stunt, and a stunt he pulled indeed. We know that he would make an agreement with the defense, then come tomorrow, he has changed his mind, and the entire proceedings will be in disarray with an adjournment, as we have seen this morning. So that one, I'm just going to cast aside. I want to focus on this particular document that ended up being a part of Gininda's testimony of a Simpiwe Buthelezi. Because I don't think it's from Simpiwe Buthelezi. A dead man can tell no tales, and he cannot wake up from the grave and say, yes, I'm the one who wrote that statement, because I don't believe it. So this is what I say. However, in this video, I want to address Simpiwe Buthelezi. I put it in air quotes, affidavit that was read by Brigadier Gininda. For the record, I don't believe that Simpiwe Buthelezi ever deposed of an affidavit spilling the beans on Bongani Ntanzi. If anything, the affidavit sounded like Zungu. Yes, the same Zungu who took the stand in this very trial. My suspicions have always been that it didn't make sense that a whole police officer would hang out with known hitmen, Izinkabi, and he's not involved in one way or the other. I continue to say many times before, we've heard that crooked police officers would hire out their service pistols to Inkabis. Some would even go as far as say as lying that they were held by criminals and they took away their firearms, especially if the gun has killed people. There is no way that Zungu didn't know that his nephew allegedly supplied guns to hitmen, and I refuse to believe that he was not involved in this sort of business as well. This is just my suspicions. I'm not saying it is true that Zungu did that type of job. But to me, it sounds like this affidavit is exposing some kind of side hustle for people around the circles of the 5 men that stand accused of killing Senzo Mewa. But it's coming from one side of the story because there are red flags that I picked up, and I'm going to be telling you guys about these red flags. I don't know how logical you are in your thinking. I hope you are as logical with your two IQs and rubbing your two IQs together and thinking, no, this affidavit, no, something fishy, something shaman, something hitting the water with this particular affidavit coming from a dead man. So this is what I give the defense as an advice if I was them. If I was a defense, I would apply to the court to have a handwriting expert to come and examine the handwriting of the person who wrote and deposed this affidavit. Simpiwe Buthelezi might be dead. I suspect she died in some very special circumstances. Just this my suspicion once again. But I believe that there are some texts that he left behind that the handwriting expert can take and compare the handwriting. Next, the expert must give Zungu a composition assignment about his experience as a police officer in no more than 1,000 words. Because I think they should just zoom in on Zungu and say, this sounds so much like Zungu. Can we have Mr. Zungu coming and handwriting a statement or maybe a composition exercise about his experience as a police officer in no more than 1,000 words. Something about the language in this affidavit that reminded me so much of Zungu. I continue to say there are two reasons for this exercise. The first one, confirm if this is Zungu's handwriting or not. Number two, how the construct of his sentences in English sound like. The purpose is to see if this composition sounds anything like the affidavit or not. Then I continue to say there's something fundamentally not right about this affidavit. Secondly, I would not understand how Brigadier Kininda would argue hearsay argument from Advocate Mngomezulu, yet he has never set his eyes on the so-called affidavit, which he could not make out what was written on it. Because the way he was arguing with Advocate Mngomezulu is as if that very statement he was reading, he knew what was in it. Unless he's the one who wrote it in a broken English and thought, okay, I did not put anything that has a hearsay in it. And yet, when Advocate Mngomezulu told him that you ran on a hearsay affidavit, and he denied that there was hearsay, and there it was. Two hearsays in this affidavit. And of course, Mngomezulu did not entertain it after he was done, after Gininda was done with the statement, because he already proved his point that you contradicted yourself, sir. But let's continue what I wrote in my script. It's clear that the affidavit speaks of hearsay information about the killing of a mining union boss or personnel or something like that. So I continue to say I found this affidavit telling that this is a cook-up. When it describes Ntanzi as quiet and unassuming and well-known hitman, I started calculating how old must he have been. 24 years old. I go like, at 24 years old, Ntanzi was a well-known hitman. Red flag number one. Ntanzi was a well-known supplier of guns around the country. Red flag number two. Buthelezi overhearing a conversation between Ntanzi and the 5 men accused of killing Senzo Meyiwa, allegedly involved in the killing of Senzo Meyiwa. Red flag number 3, hearsay. How police were paid to cancel the case. Red flag number 4. This is when I was like, I see you, Gininda, what you are trying to do. You are trying to discredit any testimony that is going to stand on that stand under oath, especially Ntanzi's father, whom, by the way, we heard that he was bribed by the police of 300,000 rand to convince his son to admit to these cases. Remember, the police went to Kwanongoma, and then they tried to bribe the father to say that he must tell his son to admit to these charges, but the father refused. But why now in this statement they're saying the father tried to pay the police to make this case go away of the Nongoma killing and all the other string of crimes that Ntanzi had committed? I found that very interesting. That is why I red flagged it as red flag number 3, or I think it's number 4. This is to block or discredit testimony by Ntanzi's father, who was offered 300,000 rand by the police to convince Ntanzi to admit to the murder of Senzo Meyiwa, or the 3 million rand that the police allegedly offered Ntanzi to just admit to the charges, his family would live a comfortable life, apparently he was told. The Nongoma murder was concluded and secured a conviction of Mr. Buthelezi. Now, why are we having Ntanzi being implicated in the same murder? That's red flag number 5 for me. Suddenly, Gininda has a convict singing like a canary on a resolved matter and relying on hearsay information to say that Bongani Ntanzi has many cases against him, including of murder. That's red flag number 6. This is Gininda trying to discredit Ntanzi to the court to a point where the court is convinced that Ntanzi is indeed a criminal and therefore admits the confession into evidence. It would be interesting to find out how did Simpiwe Buthelezi die in 2022. Dead men can tell no tale, including writing an affidavit implicating Ntanzi in so many cases. Question is, how does Buthelezi's affidavit credible in this trial, now that he's dead and cannot be cross-examined on his own words? I get it, the whole point of a dead man's affidavit is to create doubt in the credibility of accused number 2 and find him guilty. Red flag number 7 for me is the fact that Bongani Ntanzi worked in Rustenburg in the mines, yet he was a hitman and supplier of guns around the country. Make that make sense? Mathematical sense for that matter. There are 2 days in a weekend. And you're telling me in those 2 days in a weekend, this man can go all over the country selling guns and supplying guns and giving guns to hitmen? That did not make sense to me. I'm interested to know how many times did he leave Rustenburg to go do his side hustle of supplying guns? How many times has he killed people, and how many times he's been absent from work because he had gone to do a man's work? Red flag number 8, where was Ntanzi getting these guns and ammunition from? It sounds as though that he works in an arms and ammunition factory where he smuggles some of them and then supplies them to Inkabi. And this is telling on South Africa's gun control movement and lack of laws around this matter. Okay, I accidentally kicked my camera. The affidavit speaks of Ntanzi, who kept a consignment of firearms at his place, including on top of the roof of his house. Yeah, Ihab. I find that statement overly exaggerated and dramatic because any logical person would roll their eyes at this sentence in the affidavit. I roll my eyes. I was like, what? That's not true. That cannot be true. I know I was not there. But sensibility says, what? The statement talks of secret meetings with other people. Mind you, this is a man that works in Rustenburg mines. Secret meetings. Vosloorus, Tembisa, Nongoma. I don't know if you've been to Nongoma, the distance between Nongoma and Johannesburg, let alone Rustenburg. Do check your Google or whatever it is and make your calculations and tell me if that is even possible. This Buthelezi person continues to say, I don't think it's Buthelezi, and as I said, Ntanzi would share certain things with me. Red flag number 9, because Inkabis, they don't talk. Remember the saying that if I had to tell you, I would have to kill you. That's Inkabi's code of conduct. Whether that is a hitman in other parts of the world or a Inkabi in KwaZulu-Natal, they do not kiss and tell. Now, how is it that Ntanzi would go, and if he considers himself as Inkabi, will go and share such information with Buthelezi? I ask, what sort of Inkabi that talks after doing the deed? Zungu's, I mean, Buthelezzi's statement continues to say that he used to hang out with accused number 1, number 3, number 4, and number 5. Of course, he was mentioning the names in the statement. That this hangout used to be in a room where Gwabini resides. We've established through Zungu's testimony that Gwabini is his nephew and that he lived in Esutwini Hostel in Vosloorus. The same hostel that a whole police officer will hang out with known hitmen. What is wrong with this picture, I ask? This statement continues to talk about Ntanzi, who never used to speak to Buthelezzi. And suddenly, he was now giving Buthelezzi visitation. He says he was starting to give him attention by paying him visits while carrying guns to show people. Okay. Again, I still think every time when he was saying this, I kept seeing Zungu in my head, even though I don't know how he looks like, but I kept seeing Zungu in my head, not Ntanzi. Not only Ntanzi showed people firearms, but also sold to Qiniselani and others, and other people in KwaZulu-Natal, because KwaZulu-Natal is known to be a hotspot for hitmen. Though he did not say it in that exactly that way, but I think this is what he said, because in KZN there is a high demand of unlicensed firearm and ammunition. Well, we know about political killings that they're using, Kabi, whatever the case is. I think he was just taking some leaf of that particular situation in KwaZulu-Natal and smashed it on top of this affidavit to try and convince the court that, listen, you better find this confession legit. I ask again, where are these firearms coming from? This whole affidavit didn't make any sense, and I stand by what I said earlier. This affidavit was not written by Simphiwe Buthelezzi, but by someone else. There are so many red flags in this statement. I would shudder to think that Judge Rata believes any of this nonsense. I wish I could have seen his facial expressions. Remember, you guys, I was driving down to Durban, so I did not watch and see if he had any facial expressions. If he did, please comment down below and let me know, how was he looking like? I saw some people say he looked angry. The other red flag, when he tried to describe Muzi and his girlfriend situation of GBV, something that is a hearsay from the author of this affidavit. What I found laughable is the sentence about how Buthelezzi was so angry at Ntanzi and his co-accused for killing an important person, a national goalkeeper of our football club and Orlando Pirates. And I say, if he was so angry at these 5 men, why didn't he inform the police, even anonymously? Why did he sit all these years not saying anything? Suddenly, he's now police informant, just like Zungu is. Right. Do you see the correlation here? That Buthelezzi is actually Zungu. Right? And the other part that also kind of like made me giggle is when he said, being an Inkabi is a man's job or a man's work. I'm sorry, what? Now, as far as I've been brought up to be a man, this is what I was told a man is. A man uses his hands. Physical, if you know what I mean. He doesn't take a coward's weapon, a gun, and then goes and say he's doing a job. You are a coward. You are not a man. If you really want to show that you're a man, come on. Mano a mano. Let's see who wins at the end of the day. If you are contracted to deal with me, mano a mano. Come on, mano a mano. Don't come with a coward's weapon. Because of course you're going to overpower me. There's nothing I can do. I can't also prove to you that I'm a man, because I am going to be hit by something that I have no defense of. Mano a mano. Gininda's exercise was to shock the nation, have those that doubt that Ntanzi is the correct accused in the Senzo Meyiwa murder change their minds about him. From where I stand, the opposite is true, because I am more convinced than ever that Ntanzi is innocent in the killing of Senzo Meyiwa. I stand by what I always say on this channel, that the people that know who killed Senzo Meyiwa are the 6 or 7 people that were in the house with Senzo Meyiwa on the 26th of October 2014. End of story. I also think that the court at this point is very doubtful after this affidavit was read out. I think Rata is maybe like, okay, what's happening? Interestingly, this whole affidavit is so irrelevant to the matter at hand, as this affidavit was for the Nongoma case that implicated Ntanzi in a variety of offenses. I can't seem to shake off the description of Ntanzi as a well-known hitman, a gun supplier all around the country. Now, defense, once again, here's your job. Can you please get Ntanzi's, or maybe do like a lifestyle audit of Ntanzi? And these are the following things that you need to look for. How much his parents' house cost, if he built a house for them from the money that he got from supplying guns and selling guns and all of that. How much his own house cost. From what I heard, he lived in a rented room in Rustenburg, and also a rented room probably in Vosloorus. I'm not quite sure. But now check how much his own house cost, how large his bank account is, unexplained deposits into his bank account, and what sort of car he drove, and how did he buy it, cash or installments, his clothes, what brands did he wear, and the works. Basically, you need to go and do a thorough lifestyle audit so that this statement can make sense, because right now it doesn't make sense. If indeed Ntanzi's bank account is way too fat, it does not correlate with the salary that he earned at the mines, then I would say, Nkabi, you got some explaining to do. Until that lifestyle audit is not done, unfortunately, I am still saying Ntanzi is the incorrect accused in the dock. Get Kelly Kumalo, the mother, the sister, the boys in Durban, and all of them that were with Senzo Meyiwa on the 26th of October 2014 in the dock. Then we are talking. In closing, this is what I say. Brigadier Bongani Gininda is deliberately misleading the court with this statement and all the other dockets he has on Ntanzi. I think Gininda gets away with getting what he wants because he manipulates or misleads presiding officers of courts and to make them make certain decisions, just like with the J50 that he obtained illegally, allegedly. Well, my thoughts are that the defense has some work to do to discredit Gininda once and for all. Get experts to confirm that affidavit. I bet it was not written by Buthelezi. Yeah, Buthelezi, if he loved Senzo Meyiwa so much, why didn't he anonymously call the police of what he knew happened to Senzo Meyiwa and who did it? Okay, guys, I need to get back to everything that is happening at my house. The tent is being put up. I hear a lot of stuff is going on. So let me just leave this video right here, and I will talk to you guys again probably tomorrow. If I'm not here tomorrow, that's because things are getting a little bit more intense. And we'll talk, guys. I'll let you know of everything, what's going on. But thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for smashing the like button. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let's see each other again next time. Goodbye.